Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Ali Khan. I'm the Dean of the Mushtaq Ahmed Gurmani School for Humanities and Social Sciences. I'm going to say a few words before I hand over to my colleagues. I want to thank you all for being here. It shows your commitment to the preservation of Pakistan's past, an investment in Pakistan's future. So last year, or actually earlier this year, I was fortunate enough to visit Italy, and I went to Florence and I went to Bologna, and I'd been to Rome previously, and one of the things that struck me most was the immense pride that Italians have in their culture and their heritage. And much of that was evident in the investment they made to ensure that people from all walks of life continued to have a chance to engage with their culture and their heritage. And that happened through food festivals, it happened through open-air musicals, performances, the screening of classic films. And what was very striking to me was the large number of young people that would turn out for these occasions, all with a great amount of pride and celebrating their culture and their heritage. Sadly, I don't think that we've been able to do that in Pakistan, where on occasion we have tended to shy away from embracing our inheritance. Unlike Turkey or Egypt, we have been uneasy sometimes with the rich and diverse past that we have. We have struggled to accept the concept of having multiple overlapping identities. The result is that we have lost so much through neglect and sometimes contempt, and have seen unique parts of our heritage end up in universities in the United States or in the United Kingdom. We are left having to pay to access our own history and culture, and unsurprisingly, it is lost to many of us. I want to give you one small example of why what we're introducing today is important. And bear with me, because it may seem that this has very little to do with our culture. But in 1897, Bram Stoker wrote one of the most influential novels in the English language, Dracula. Never out of print, it was recreated for theater and then for multiple films across the world. In 1967, Pakistan released its version of Dracula entitled Zinda Lash, Pakistan's first horror film. After that initial run in 1967, it disappeared. Around 40 years later, my brother, who is a film aficionado, rediscovered the reels of this film in the basement of a cinema that had been shut for many, many years. The reels were falling apart. It looked as if this would be destroyed and that the film would never, ever be recovered. But through painstaking work, it was recovered, it was digitized, and it was released to a much larger audience through this digital version on DVD. This has allowed this Pakistani film to be reintroduced to a new generation of film lovers in Pakistan and abroad. But the success of one highlights a much, much greater failure. Most Pakistani films are available on YouTube, and you can see what the prints are like, from the old classics to more recent ones. And yet, some of us will remember that in the 60s and the 70s, a major part of our heritage was the ritual of going to the cinema to watch these films. My colleagues today will speak about how they have worked to salvage, restore, and disseminate some of the most precious parts of our heritage. All this has been done with minimal resources from our own university's budget. And why is this important? It is important because we need to know our history, our heritage, and to be secure in our identity. It is also important because Pakistan is so much more than what it is made out to be. Through this initiative, we can change the global narrative on Pakistan away from the usual terrorism and intolerance. I'm hoping that you will help us do this and that you will join us in saving our heritage and securing our future for generations to come. Thank you. I'm going to ask Dr. Ali Raza to introduce parts of the project now.
Thank you, Ali. Much appreciated. Thank you all for coming. My name is Ali Raza, and I am a historian at the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences. I'm also the current chair, which is why I have the responsibility for introducing our work today. Could we turn the presentation on? I don't know. Shuru kijiye, Umar.
ऐ मेरे आबाद वतन आजाद पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद पाकिस्तान तेरे मंदिर तेरे दरिया को सारो मैदान सल्तनतों सामान खुदाए पाक कहे एहसान तू है पाक अमानत जिस पर जिंदगियां कुर्बान तुझ पे निछावर माल जान औलाद पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद पाकिस्तान.
This could have been our national anthem. In fact, it was pretty close to making that cut. And what you just heard is a one-of-a-kind recording and it's one of many that we have the honor and privilege of counting as part of our collections and cultural treasures. But let me take a few steps back and begin by saying from the very outset that as a practitioner and scholar of history, literature, culture, art, and music, to be in Pakistan is to live with constant heartbreak. And the heartbreak comes from how our heritage is treated. I distinctly recall Ali Khan began with a story. I have one of my own. I actually have many stories, and many of our colleagues have their own. But my first story begins from the time that I went to Anarkali's tomb as a young and excited graduate student. Anarkali's tomb was also the site of the Punjab archives. I was going to consult a document from the early 20th century that I desperately needed for my research. And on asking for the document, I was told that that document had been weeded out by a specially appointed weeding officer. The Punjab archives had clearly run out of physical space, and they had to decide what to include and what to discard. And these stories are all too familiar to all of us, again, as scholars and practitioners in history, culture, the arts, music, literature, and so on. And so what is otherwise a small incident, I think is also emblematic of a deep and widespread systematic malaise, which is the widespread institutional and societal disregard for our national and regional heritage. Let me just say it again. Ali Khan mentioned this, but let me just reiterate that. Let me just say that more emphatically. In dozens of languages, and across our regions, we have a vast swathe of cultural artifacts, monuments, landmarks, ancient historical artifacts, cultural treasures, print literatures, sound and film collections. I could go on, but my point is to say that Pakistan is the inheritor of an extraordinarily rich and unparalleled heritage. And yet, through systematic neglect, as Dean Khan pointed out, we are at the risk of losing these treasures. And in some ways, the worth of our cultural treasures and our regional heritage is better recognized by institutions that are outside of Pakistan. I know very recently, for example, of a splendid collection, actually, of film posters, thousands of them that were purchased by Princeton University. Before that, it was a private library that sold its entire collection again to UCLA. Howard in the past has purchased and systematically collected more than 25,000 rare manuscripts from the 16th to the 19th century in all sorts of languages, from Sanskrit and Hindi to Arabic, Persian, Urdu, and more. And at this point, could we go to the next slide, please? Or actually, do I have this? Yeah, wonderful. Yes, we are situated in a moment where, at least what it feels like to us, is that we are close to losing some of our most precious heritage, which obviously comes with a societal cost that Ali Khan mentioned in the beginning. I think that before, on the screen before me, you'll find a few reasons for why heritage is important. I'll just begin by pointing out what I consider to be the most important, which is to say that heritage matters because heritage matters. And beyond that, of course, one can think of other reasons why we have to pay attention to this question, in part, of course, to build what we hope will be a pluralistic and more tolerant and open future for Pakistan. Let me just also then point out why we believe that at LUMS we are in a good place. We are best situated, we feel, to embark upon this project. We are Pakistan's first institution that launched a liberal arts program. Our liberal arts program, with a focus on the humanities, has in the past 3 decades produced now a large number of scholars who have now gone on to work and produce scholarship on Pakistan, and they are now among some of Pakistan's leading research scholars. Our research expertise in our department is also unparalleled, and that's not just across Pakistan, but also across the region. And over the past many years, we have developed the capacity and the resources to work across platforms and disciplinary silos. And in due course, you shall hear from my colleagues who are working at the intersection of history, the history of art, architecture, and of course, the computer sciences. Finally, we have active and ongoing collaborations with some of the leading organizations around the world who work on the question of culture preservation. And of course, amongst these organizations are also regional and international universities. And of course, needless to say, we have a track record of trusted stewardship of library and archival collections. Let me just go on very quickly, and let me just highlight a few projects that many of us have been working on for the past many years, and eventually we shall conclude at our presentation with the Jain collection. That's when Dr. Nadra will take over. But let me just start off with a few examples. There are many more that we could have selected for this presentation. We chose only 4 or 5 in the interests of time. And this project is called the Sikh Wirsa project, led by Dr. Nadra Khan, which is Pakistan's first immersive digital archive of Sikh heritage. It also was recognized with a prestigious award by the Times Higher Education in 2022. These are a few images from there. We have also been running for the past many years a digital archive on our platform. You can see it if you step out. When you step outside of this room, you'll find workstations where you can consult and see the LUMS Digital Archive. It has a number of projects, and let me just distinguish between 2 kinds of projects. The first kind of project is a project that basically aims to digitize and preserve and make accessible collections that are otherwise very rare or hardly found. And the other kind of project is projects of basically digital history, which are basically great educational tools for students and researchers to immerse themselves in some story from the past. Let me give you an example of what that looks like. This is a digital history platform that we built in a project led by Ali Usman Qasmi and his students. It's basically a project that emerged from a course that he taught called Walking in Lahore. And this maps out parts of ancient Lahore through stories of Bhagat Singh and other figures who are central to Lahore's history in a way that teaches students about the history of this glorious and wonderful city. We also have some very rare magazines that are obviously no longer in print, but we found actually these magazines in basically dilapidated private collections. They were kind enough to donate them to us, and our first task was to digitize them and make them accessible to a larger public, and you can see them on the workstations that we have outside. More recently, we have received, again, a generous donation from the Asar archive. It was part of the WAF Foundation. And again, it is a one-of-a-kind repository of women's history and feminist activism in Pakistan. More forms in which we have attempted to convey history or to actually tell a story of Pakistan's past. Most recently, we worked on a documentary which told the story of two gentlemen who were abducted as children during partition. They were brought up in orphanage centers, and we basically documented their stories and portrayed them through a documentary which shall be up very, very soon, ideally by next week. This is the poster of the documentary. And finally, let me just conclude, at least from my end, on the Lutfullah Khan archive. This is something that we acquired very recently. We were lucky, fortunate, and honored to receive a donation from the Lutfullah Khan family, who were looking for an institution in Pakistan to entrust their collection to. Lutfullah Khan Sahab was an advertiser by profession, but he was also a collector without parallel. For 50 years of his life, from the 1950s to the day he passed away, Khan Sahab lovingly collected, curated, digitized, and basically worked on compiling what is Pakistan's and indeed the region's largest audio archive. There is no collection like this in the entire region. It spans 50 years worth of recordings of prominent personalities, including religious figures, political leaders, artists, intellectuals, but also, I would add, hundreds and hundreds of musicians. We'll have a session after this at 6 o'clock. We hope that you can join us for that. Which will be a session, which will be a live recital of Dhrupad artists. And the inspiration for that session came from a very rare recording, a Dhrupad recording that you may have heard as you came in, that is, again, in the Lutfullah Khan collection. Let me just give you a glimpse of other things that are there, just so that you get a sense of the vastness of this collection.
ये फ़लस्तीनी बच्चे के लिए लोरी मत रो बच्चे रो रो के भी तेरी अम्मी की आंख लगी है मत रो बच्चे कुछ ही पहले तेरे अब्बा ने अपने गम से रुखसत ली है मत रो बच्चे तेरा भाई अपने ख्वाब की तितली पीछे दूर कहीं परदेस गया है मत रो बच्चे तेरी बाजी का डोला पराए देश गया है मत रो बच्चे तेरे आंगन में मुर्दा सूरज नहला के गए हैं चंद्रमा दफना के गए हैं मत रो बच्चे तू अगर रोएगा तो ये सब अम्मी अब्बा बाजी भाई चांद और सूरज और भी तुझको रुलवाएंगे तू मुस्कुराएगा तो शायद ये सब एक दिन बेस बदल कर तुझसे खेलने लौट आएंगे
With an ongoing genocide, we thought it might be appropriate to bring to you Faiz Ahmad Faiz's voice in reciting his own poem on Palestine. And this is just one of many that we have in the Lutfullah Khan collection. It is, in fact, the only collection of its kind which has the entirety of Faiz Sahab's work, his poetry, in his own voice, spread over 20 years of his life. Let me just conclude with where we hope to go with this before I ask my colleagues to speak about their work and the extraordinary work that they have been doing in safeguarding and preserving our cultural heritage. We hope to create a center, an institution that is devoted to preserving Pakistan's historical and cultural heritage. We believe that we at LUMS are very well poised to embark upon this project. We have many years of experience behind us, and we now feel that we are ready to take the next step in developing an institutional base and actually take a leadership in preserving not just Pakistan's cultural and historical heritage, but to take the lead in developing digital humanities across South Asia, in the hope, of course, that through this collective project in which we hope that you will join us and work with us, in the hope that through this project we shall hopefully be able to foster a dialogue at the societal level, at the governmental level, which will hopefully bring together faiths, generations, peoples across borders, which is what we believe heritage can do. Thank you very much for listening, and I would like to invite my colleagues to take this further. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ali. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm Sulaiman Shahid. I'm a faculty member in Computer Science Department. It's my honor and pleasure to present this work to you, which we've been working on from the last about 10, 12 years. And what we're calling it art history and digital preservation, and how can we take a multidisciplinary pathway towards that. So I'm Sulaiman Shahid, as I said. My area of interest is user experience design, and sort of trying to see how can we make any information more accessible. Joined by Dr. Nadra Shehbaz. She's an art historian, architectural historian, and actively working in this area since 2005. And by my colleague from Computer Science Department, Murtaza, who is very, very well known for this amazing work all over the world. He's also an associate professor, and mainly in the area of computer graphics, but actively work the kind of things we're going to present. So when you look at this very interesting Venn diagram, there are three areas of interest we together work on that sort of connect us. One area is digital preservation, and the second one is art history, and third one is heritage experience design. The three, when you look at them together, look at the intersections of what we try to do. We try to make interactive exhibitions. We try to have virtual reality-based reconstructions. We try to have high-resolution art analysis. And mainly, we try to make art and history more accessible to the larger audience. That's a key goal here. So the three themes, as I said, the first and the very, very important theme here is that make sure that something can be preserved with the help of pixels. So what happens actually, we transfer something which is in the real world to the digital world. And how can we make it sort of more visible? Once we have made it more visible, the next and the very important thing is how would you make it accessible? So people can interact with it, people can look at it, people can explore that. But if you only have visibility and accessibility, and if you don't have a story behind it, that'll be very, very difficult. So it has to be switched. So you have to have a story around it. And story is actually what that object was trying to say. And that's where Dr. Nadra comes in, and she sort of tried to wrap it up in a very interesting story. So what we bring visibility, we bring accessibility, but we also then convert into a story so that it retains there, it goes not as an object, but also as a story. So if you look at the footprint of our work, we have been working all over Pakistan in the last about 10, 12 years. So there are, if you look at some of these sites, in the north, we have worked with, in Punjab, we have worked with Lahore Museum, Wazir Khan Mosque, and we'll show some of the examples. We have worked with at Dirawar Fort. We have Sikh Art Gallery in Lahore. Then we have work at Khudabad Dadu. We have worked with Pir Zakri Shrine. Then in KPK, we have Kafir Court, we have Takhbai, there are many other, Julia, I think Murtaza might show something and talk about it. So this is how we have covered almost all over Pakistan, and many of these sites have been preserved using many different technologies and techniques, and which we'll see. So this is a timeline. We started as a team. Murtaza actually started, and then Dr. Nadra started, and we had individual projects, but then we came together and systematically started working on it in 2013. Then we had a big project in 2015 from USAID. Then 2017, there was a UNESCO and SSRC. Then again 2021. Then Lahore. Then the THE came in 2022. Then Lahore history. Then Ranjit Singh, Toshakhana, Jain catalog, and in between there are many other projects which we have done. So it's a very long history of the work which we have established over time and sort of build this connection in a sort of more systematic way and giving voice to our heritage with the help of using sort of embedding design, technology, and history. So these are our partners. As you can see, they are donors, they are partners, and the work has been funded by both local bodies as well as international bodies, and has also been presented in the form of documentaries and magazines, and Murtaza will talk about it also. So at this stage, I'll give it to Murtaza. Murtaza will come in and he'll talk about in detail what the digital preservation is. And then we move towards how do we preserve and then move to user experience. And then Dr. Nadra will come in and she'll talk about art history and then move to the next part, which is actually going to be student work being shown. Murtaza, please. I leave you with a very nice slide. I leave you with your favorite slide.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Dr. Sulaiman. So I'm Murtaza. I'm also a faculty in computer science department, and my main work is in the area of digitization of buildings and mainly tangible heritage. So we all know that many of the heritage sites in Pakistan is in extremely deplorable state, whether vandalism, terrorism, all is there. Physical preservation is important and it should be done, but it's very time consuming, it's very costly as well. So what we thought was, while physical preservation moves on at a slower pace, why can't we quickly create digital twins of these sites so that at least we have a copy of them in digital form, we can present it to the world. And the important thing is that whenever you do the actual physical preservation, you need a digital documentation to start with. So with this, we started digital documentation, but when we started documenting, we decided that we want to do it very thoroughly. So back in 2013 and 14, with the help of USAID, we for the first time introduced terrestrial laser scanning in Pakistan. What terrestrial laser scanning does is, it's able to capture millions of points, or I would rather say at least 1 million point in a second, which means with this kind of technology, you can document an entire site in few days. So you have a digital copy on which multiple projects can later on be done. In addition to scanning, we also used imaging techniques like reflective transmittance imaging and photogrammetry, which are more commonly known. But the goal was to do both what an image can do and also a survey grade scanning. So among the sites that we have done, Dr. Sulman mentioned there are 4 among the mosques: Pashahi Masjid, Masjid Wazir Khan, Masjid Khudabad in Dadu, and then other places like in the Buddhist, we covered several monasteries, stupas, Takbai, Bhamala, Julia, and also other places. We covered in Nankana Sahib, Gurdwara Janamastana. So it's kind of very rich in a sense that it's not limited to one type of heritage or one religious group, but it's very diverse, trying to cover whatever the Pakistan has. Typically, what we try to do is whatever we capture, we try to share it with the community immediately. So it's all in the form of 3D models available on the web, and then architects can use the data to create projects or start the conservation. Some of the work is available on heritage360.pk, and then we have also created a lot of videos so that at least we can project a soft image of Pakistan. So just few examples. This is one of the projects that I did with architect Yasmin Chima. This is Ush Sharif. And this is just a glimpse of the kind of data the scanner captures. So all this, which seems like an image, but it's millions of points captured by the scanner. And once you have it, then you can use it, an architect can use it to create 2D drawings, and this is where the physical conservation starts. Similarly, this is Lahore Museum. Lahore Museum colleagues are here as well. So it's an interesting project because you might have recently seen news that $8 million project has been started for the Lahore Museum. It's a World Bank project. Punjab government handed to an Italian company for the documentation. Italian company contacted Pakistani architect, and we are the one who did the documentation. So, but this is, so there are several such projects we have done across Pakistan which go around the world and then come back to us. And then in the end, one is the documentation that helps architects to move on, but then other possibility is we try to, so we try to convert these documents, these digital data into virtual experiences so that people can, relive these sites. And in some of these creations, we try to create them as in a form they were in their time of glory. So this is Masjid Wazir Khan. You might not see these wells and things around Wazir Khan now. It's been significantly changed, but in the virtual you can see it. Also, the artwork on the Wazir Khan is deteriorating, but in the digital form, is there on the building. So moving on, another very important project that we are doing is digital documentation of rock art, inscription, and petroglyphs. So Pakistan is one of the countries which has one of the largest collection of rock art and inscriptions. And these are mostly in the Gilgit-Baltistan region, from Hunza to in Gilgit, Karga, and then this is a very important site, Jaglot, which is a confluence of Himalayas, Karakoram, and Hindu Kush. And it's not only geographically important. In the old time, it was a very important crossing route along the Silk Route. This is an important site for the rock art. Then when we come down over here, if you have traveled across Pakistan from Babusar, when you go to Gilgit, this is 0 point. This is where the Diamir Bhasha Dam has been constructed. From this point till KPK Shatiyal, this area is very rich in rock carvings. Around 35,000 rock carvings are within the flood basin of Diamir Bhasha Dam, which will be submerged once the dam is completed. So we are doing an extensive project in this region. We have published around 4,000 3D models of the rock with inscriptions and petroglyphs just for the flood basin of the Diamir Bhasha Dam. Thank you. Just to give you a glimpse of what these rock carvings are. So these rock carvings, this is a rock 34 from Shatiyal. These rock carvings are kind of the history books of the past. So if I just talk about this region of this carving, this rock has over 34 carvings itself. So this is talking about Sibi Jatika. So Jatika are the stories from the former lives of the Buddha. So what the story is saying is about a falcon and a dove and King Sibi. And so King Sibi saved the life of the dove by giving himself to the falcon to eat. And the falcon, knowing the kind-hearted king, he appeared in the front of the king in the form of Indra god and tell him that you will be the Buddha in future. So many of these stories are written on these rocks. And as I said, these are the history book of the past, so this is very important to document them, and this is what we are trying to do. And just the final bit, the heritage experience part. What we are trying to do with the museum objects and many other objects which are stored at different places is to make them accessible to the public. So this is Sikh Virsa project, which got Times Higher Education Award. Dr. Ali Raza also mentioned it. And one of the pictures that you showed, so this is the kind of modeling we are trying to do, trying to capture every single thread in the finest details possible. Many times the details that is available on the web is reduced, but the actual data is in a very high form. Another project is for the Texla Museum. It was a UNESCO-funded project. The idea was to take the museum objects, the places from where these artifacts have been collected, combine them into a visual experience that users at the museum can come, scan the QR code, and then browse these objects and can find more things about it. And with this is another project where this is Rafi Pure Museum for Puppets. This is also another project which we documented these puppets so that they are accessible to anyone on the web. And with this, I'll talk about how we are trying to disseminate these things to the public. So one of the things that we commonly do is conferences, exhibitions, events like this one, so that we can show this to the public. Publications is another thing, digital assets. And then a lot of, since we are a university, we also invest a lot of time in teaching courses, conducting workshops, not just in LUMS, but in, for example, we've conducted a few workshops in Hazara, in Karakoram International University, so that whatever we are doing is shared with the public at large. And these are some of the examples of the events. This is a calligraphy event where Ustad Sher Zaman work was presented, and these are some of the glimpses from that exhibition. And so this covers kind of the documentation or the digitization aspect of it. But then that's kind of body. We have to add soul to it. And for adding the soul, I'll invite Dr. Nadra to talk about the art history.
Assalamu alaikum. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for wonderful presentations, and thank you all for being here today. It has been a privilege for me to work with Dr. Murtaza and Dr. Suleiman for more than a decade now. What I bring to the beautiful body of images that they create is the voice, the art historical voice. And together, we build a narrative which is framed on historical references. It has been curated, every time we do something, we curate it according to the academic rigor. And then we kind of try to make this material culture available for people where they can understand its past lives. And it also brings the makers, the users, the patrons, tangible and alive and real and meaningful. And so the narrative generally then becomes accessible to people. So we are together storytellers of heritage, including sites and artifacts. And another very interesting and intriguing project that we've been working together for more than 18 months now, with the Faculty Initiative Fund that helped us start it, has been Maharaja Ranjit Singh's Toshakhana. I will take a few minutes to introduce you to what the Toshakhana is and then show you a short clip. What we did for this was that we, Dr. Murtaza and Dr. Suleiman, helped design LLM, which is long language module, which is beyond my understanding. It is their work, they do it well. I just glean reap the benefits of it. The idea here is they developed two versions of it. One was to trace historical references from the net, something which is authentic, something which is credible. And then another one was just to work on our machines secretly. So we're not giving away what we have collected so far until we are ready to part with it, to publish it. So we developed this, and what exactly is the Toshakhana? Punjab was annexed in 1849, 29th March 1849. Almost exactly 9 years and 9 months after Maharaja Ranjit Singh died on 27th June 1839. Now, at the time of annexation, within the next few days, Lahore Fort, which had the Sikh families living in, the young Maharaja Dalip Singh, who was almost 11 years old, also within the Lahore Fort, and the Maharaja's treasury. Everything was handed over to Dr. John Logan, who was made the guardian of the young Dalip Singh, and the treasury, of course, was handed over to him, expecting him to make an inventory of it. That inventory never kind of got completed as a wholesome account. Why? Because there were a lot of people interested in getting what they wanted out of it. Governor General Dalhousie came all the way to Lahore to get his pick. The East India Company directors wanted their share. So elephant jewels that were made with gold, arms and armaments, and several other things, jewels as well, were packed off and sent off to them. And Queen Victoria, of course, was sent off the Kohinoor diamond. Where is it? Emily Eden visited Lahore in 1838, Lord Auckland's sister, and she made these designs, and we have, this is Kohinoor, and this is another diamond, and if there is time, I'd love to tell you this story. The Maharaja's throne, which is now in the Victoria and Albert Museum, was also parceled off. Several other things happened to several other things, and we're working on it. We've been working on it for, as I said, for a year and a half, and we're planning a short exhibition in a few months at LUMS to showcase some of our findings, not all of them. This is Maharaja Sher Singh, Ranjit Singh's second son, and this painting is by the Hungarian August Schaft, Princess Bamba collection, now in the Lahore Fort. It is also on the Sikh Virsa website. You can go and look at a very high-res image, zoom into every piece of jewel that he wears. This is Kohinoor. This is Timur ruby, Spinel ruby, and this is Darya-e-Noor. So what is Darya-e-Noor? How many of us know about Darya-e-Noor? Darya-e-Noor was again one of the largest diamonds. And the weight of Darya-e-Noor used to be equal to Kohinoor before it was recut in the hands of the British, 186 carats. The interesting story about Darya-e-Noor is the color is light pink, left Lahore in 1850, sent back to India in 1852, given to Messrs. Hamilton and Co. of Calcutta, auctioneers, bought by Honorable Sir Abdul Ghani of Dhaka, who was a great businessman. And unfortunately, one of his successors, Sir Salimullah, fell into financial problems. It was again given over to Hamilton's. They sent it to London, but then they realized the kind of money they were looking for would not be paid in London, so it's sent back to India. And recently we found out that the Bangladesh government has actually found it locked away in a safe, and they're going to unveil it soon. These are the sources. Look at what these letters are. Look at the directions that they give you. Letter from the India office to the Privy Purse office, dated 13th October 1911. Now 1911 is a time when Queen Victoria is no more. It is Queen Mary who is now retracing what happened to Darya-e-Noor, because Darya-e-Noor was sent over to London for the 1851 Crystal Hall exhibition. It was exhibited there. Queen Victoria did not like it, so it was sent back. And then there were efforts to retrace it and get it back. These are some of the stories that we have found out about the Toshakhana. There are many more. Each story is fascinating. And this brings us to this short clip, which will give you another side of the Toshakhana story. Not the gems, but something else, equally precious.
On Tuesday, the 18th of Jet, the Maharaja had all the kingly flooring spread out, had costly and fine canopies and triumphant tents set up, had the special gold chair fixed up in Baradari in Ramba, and had all the gold vessels of the finest quality arranged beside himself. The Umdat Uttavari, Ranjit Singh's Court Chronicles.
It shakes me up every time I watch it. These are some of the projects we've been doing. We plan to do more. This has potential to go on for several years, because the more we find, the archival discoveries, they lead us to more. Objects that were taken out of the Lahore Darbar Toshakhana are in several museums. Sometimes their provenance is incorrect, and we have found fabulous objects that have not been labeled right in world-class museums. But of course, we're waiting for our publications and our official kind of release of such information that will come with time. And so this brings us to, again, collaborative work, which is filmmaking, which is music, which is historical data that we collect, archival material that we trace, in every primary or secondary resources, and we bring it together. And this is the slide that I wanted to leave you with. Collaboration brings together human insight and digital power, safeguarding heritage, expanding access, and opening new frontiers of knowledge. Thank you very much for this. I will continue to stand here because I will now introduce the second part of today's theme, which is the Jain catalog. And I'll give you again a very brief kind of a context of the course that I designed with great permission from the Lahore Museum, which I'm greatly, absolutely thankful for. We were given full access, we were given full support. We had several sessions in the museum where the students were allowed to hold the objects in their hands, look at them, inspect them, measure them again, and record them. And the idea, of course, was that what we do and what the outcome of this course will be handed over to the museum for dissemination to a larger public. For this was a 400 level course, a senior level course. Most of my students were history majors. We started off with trying to understand the colonial construct of setting up museums in the subcontinent. Lahore was the last one. We also dealt with the politics of display. Why were certain collections highlighted? Why were other collections just kind of pushed or dismissed or made to stand mute? Gandhara is a collection that was, has always been the star collection of the Lahore Museum, and we went through historical narratives to really understand. And my student, one of them will come in and speak on behalf of the rest of the class and explain what their takeaway was from this course. My expectations of them were detailed object reports, thematic essays, exhibition ideas, and they did all of that, and that was collected and collated and turned into an exhibition once the course was over. So a little more on it in a minute. These are all of the students. I would want them to maybe come here and invite Taimur to tell you more about his experience.
Hello, everyone. So when we began this course, the very idea of studying Jainism in Pakistan seemed quite novel. Jain communities no longer live here. Their traditions are absent from our public consciousness. Yet, as we quickly learned, the story of Jainism is deeply entwined with the history of the lands that we now call home. From the Thade Bhabriyan of Lahore, Gujranwala, and Rawalpindi to the Jain mandirs of Multan and Nagar Pakar, Jain merchants and philanthropists once animated our bazaars, built temples in our cities, and endowed schools and libraries. Partition abruptly ruptured this presence, leaving behind scattered traces, temples, manuscripts, sculptures that few today can recognize. Studying Jain material culture in Pakistan, then, is about recovering a forgotten heritage. It allows us to acknowledge the contributions of a community that helped shape the civic and cultural fabric of our region. It also challenges the narrow and frankly quite monolithic narratives of the past that we often inherit, showing us instead that the Punjab was home to multiple traditions that coexisted and flourished side by side. At the same time, our project situates Pakistan within the larger world of South Asian and global scholarship. Across India, Europe, and North America, Jain studies is a vibrant field, but within Pakistan, the subject is almost invisible, despite the fact that we hold important material evidence in our museums and archives. By taking up this line of inquiry, we placed ourselves in conversation with international debates while also making original contributions that only we, given our location and access, could make. For instance, there is extensive work on votive footprints that has labeled them as padukas. But the word paduka literally means footwear, which doesn't make sense in this context. In our catalog, we've established that they should instead be referred to as charanchin, which literally means footprints. We also examined the practices of Charan Puja, situating the veneration of footprints within a broader discourse on cross-cultural cultic practices, wherein homologous forms of footprint worship are attested across diverse religious systems. Finally, engaging with Jain art gave us a chance to reflect on the values of ahimsa, nonviolence, plurality, aparigraha or restraint that we think speak quite powerfully to our present moment. For us, this course was not just about reconstructing the past, but also about learning how histories of difference can help us imagine more inclusive futures. So, why this collection and why now? The Lahore Museum holds one of the richest collections of Jain sculptures in Pakistan. Yet when we first encountered these objects, what struck us most was not their abundance, but the silences that surrounded them. The collection existed, but the knowledge around it was incomplete. Unlike the Mughal paintings or Gandharan sculptures, which have been researched and written about quite extensively, the Jain holdings had remained at the margins, waiting for attention. Selecting this collection then became an act of filling in the gaps. Each object raised questions. Who commissioned it? What city was it from? What rituals once animated it? Even the damaged and fragmentary pieces became valuable because they pointed us towards the absences in the historical record. Some of the museum's holdings led us to Gujranwala, where we were able to put two sites back onto the map, the Gujranwala Jain Mandir and Sri Atmaram Samadhi. While this may sound straightforward, it was in fact a crucial intervention, given the fact that relevant government departments, such as the EPTB, had virtually no information on these places and even mistakenly conflated them as a single site. By clarifying their distinct identities, our work not only recovers forgotten histories, but also provides a foundation for future scholarship, conservation, and public engagement. In this sense, Lahore Museum's Jain Gallery became a kind of laboratory for learning. It reminded us that history is not a finished story, but an unfinished archive, and that our task as students and researchers is to participate in the ongoing process of making sense of it. On a tertiary level, what set this course apart was the chance to work directly with the past. Instead of relying on secondary texts, we handled objects, we studied inscriptions, we traced provenances, and engaged in fieldwork. We made history quite tangible, quite real. We gained skills rarely available to undergraduates in Pakistan in the process: archival research, object documentation, epigraphic analysis, and museum curation. Most importantly, the fragmentary nature of the evidence available to us forced us to think critically, think creatively, and collaboratively. Each project and each object required teamwork, rigorous debate, and genuine inquiry. This was a new kind of pedagogical model, one where we became active participants in creating knowledge alongside our professor and alongside the museum. This experience not only deepened our historical understanding, but also gave us the confidence, the curiosity, and the tools that we think will serve us far beyond this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Temur. So the information that the students produced, once the course ended, I thought I should collect it and turn it into a catalog. And instead of handing over just PDFs or printouts to the Honorable Director who's with us today, and Asim Saab, who was the person to open all doors for us, and Ehtasham, the curator, is also with us, which is a delight. So the next 4 months, entire summers, there was no break for me or my students. They are all here. I would like my team to come here then. Anas, Abdullah, who was a TA, Temur, Zeenat, and Hamza. Hamza designed the catalog and revised it, I think, 50 times, patiently, without ever not responding to our, Hamza, do it right now. And Zeenat has been doing multiple things, videos that we will be showing to you in a few minutes. Anas, Abdullah, Temur, they've all been great leaders in taking this project forward, and I'm really lucky to have such a brilliant team. This brings us to the 2 videos. So we ended up making, when you look at the catalog, each section has a student's photographs, their short bio, and a quote from them, and the 2 or 3 objects that they worked on. We could not do all, videos for all 22, 23 objects, limited resources. The advancement team deserves my very, very special thanks for taking care of the photography and the footage. Aisha deserves a very special thank for her investment in this project. And I'm also grateful to Dr. Ali Khan, without whose help this wishful thinking would never have been materialized, because I initially wanted to print 1,000 copies and present to the museum, which wasn't possible within our limited budgets. So he gave me enough to get 100 copies done. But that is just the starting point. I'm sure with more support, we can actually continue to reprint them. The VC Saab's office has been a complete marvel. They've been with us every step of the way, up till this moment where we are all together and we're sharing this knowledge production by these young people in front of us. How do we play this? Labels, QR codes.
संगमरमर का ये बेमिसाल पैनल तीरथ पता गुजरांवाला के जैन मंदिर से लाया गया है। 6.5 फुट चौड़ा और 8.5 फुट लंबा ये पैनल मुनब्बतकारी और नक्काशी से शत्रुंजय पहाड़ की तस्वीर कशी कर रहा है, जो भारत के गुजरात में जैन मज़हब का एक अहम ज़ियारती मकाम है। लाहौर म्यूज़ियम में मौजूद इस पैनल का असल मकसद अक़ीदतमंदों को भव्य यात्रा या रूहानी सफ़र का तजुर्बा देना था, जो मार्बल के अलावा कपड़े और लकड़ी पर भी बनाए जाते थे। पैनल के निचले हिस्से में पलिताना रेलवे स्टेशन से यात्रा का आगाज़ दिखाया गया है, जहां कुली, पालकी बरदार और अक़ीदतमंद पहाड़ी रास्तों में मौजूद मुख्तलिफ मंदिरों से होते हुए पैनल के बाएं जानिब ऊपरी हिस्से में मौजूद आदिनाथ के मंदिर तक पहुंचते हुए दिखाई देते हैं। आदिनाथ को ऋषभ देव भी कहते हैं, जो जैन मत के पहले तीर्थंकर हैं। इस तीर्थ पते में साधु, आम लोग, जेवरात से आरास्ता उमरा, उनके मुहाफिज और घने जंगलात के मनाजिर को नहायत दिलकश अंदाज में पेश किया गया है। दाएं निचले हिस्से में दीक्षा की रस्म की मंजर कशी की गई है, जहां एक खातून साधुओं और आम लोगों की मौजूदगी में तर्क दुनिया का अहद करके अपने रूहानी सफ़र का आगाज़ कर रही हैं। पैनल के बॉर्डर्स पर नागरी रस्मुल ख़त में तहरीरें मौजूद हैं, जिससे मालूम होता है कि ये तीरथ पता 1941 में गुजरांवाला के जैन मंदिर में श्री आत्माराम की याद में लगाया गया था।
This carved teakwood balcony, completed in 1941, belonged to the Jain Mandir in Gujranwala's historic Bhabra Bazaar within the Jain Mohalla behind Sherawala Bagh. Dedicated to Parshavnath, the 23rd Jain Tirthankar, the temple belonged to the Svitambar or white-clad tradition and was built in memory of Atma Ramji, also known as Acharya Vijay Anand Suri. It served Gujranwala's Jain community until 1947. The balcony, salvaged in the 1970s and preserved by the Lahore Museum, reflects Punjab's rich wood carving traditions despite colonial-era disruptions. Its windows glow with colored glass in red, purple, green, and yellow, while the entire surface is exquisitely carved with vegetal and animate imagery. At the center is a relief of Parshavnath, identified by a cobra hood behind his head and a serpent below, set in a chhatri-like niche framed by crowned apsaras or celestial nymphs carrying vessels in their hands. Surrounding Parshavnath are the 14 auspicious Jain symbols seen in the dreams of future Tirthankars' mothers, foretelling the birth of enlightened souls. These symbols include an elephant, a bull, a lion, the goddess Lakshmi, twin garlands, the moon, the sun, banners, a pot, a lotus lake, a milky ocean, a celestial throne, a heap of jewels, and a smokeless fire. This composition is enclosed in a grapevine border with parrots and Jain symbols like the endless knot. Above the composition, a Devanagari inscription reads, Shri Parshav Prabhu Mandir Jain Svitambar, confirming the temple's dedication to Parshavnath and its Svitambar affiliation. On either side of the balcony are 3 winged Vidya Devis holding musical instruments such as the rubab, naubat, dholak, and taus. The balcony's ornate pillars house figures including Ganesh, Svitambar monks, and goddesses invoked for protection and prosperity. Floral panels featuring roses, sunflowers, lotuses, irises, lilies, and several others line the base, while lush vegetal patterns and birds, cuckoos, parrots, hamsas, create a paradisiacal setting. Temple motifs such as chain and bell designs, tassels, and bands of inverted lotuses divide the three sections of the balcony. 3 of the 7 windows feature male guardians known as dwarapals. They carry fly whisks, fans, or pennants and offer perpetual service. Blending Jain iconography with late Mughal, Sikh, and colonial motifs, this balcony stands as a rare example of late colonial Jain architecture in Punjab, embodying devotion, artistry, and the enduring legacy of a once thriving Jain community.
Thank you very much for your attention. My students have also designed new labels for the entire Jain collection with QR codes for the 6 videos. And with support, they plan to do the rest of the collection as well. But once these are put in place, anyone coming in can just scan it, and these videos will. Each video has an Urdu or an English voiceover, so people can choose whichever they want to go with. I would now invite Ms. Nabila Irfan to please come over and say a few words.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nadra. Distinguished guests, hosts, faculty, student, colleagues, and friends, Assalamu alaikum and good evening. I'm truly honored to be here today at LUMS for the launch of Heritage at LUMS and for the unveiling of the first project in this exciting initiative, Icons of Devotion, Jain Artefacts in the Lahore Museum. Allow me to thank the organizers for inviting me and to commend both the LUMS community and my colleagues at the Lahore Museum for their dedication to this collection. Regarding Jain Artifact at Lahore Museum, I am delighted that the first focus of the initiative is on the Jain artifacts housed at the Lahore Museum. These artifacts represent a remarkable but often overlooked chapter of our shared cultural history, which has been highlighted by various speakers here today as well. And I agree that each and every artifact has its own story, and unveiling that story is very important to preserve our heritage and culture. The Lahore Museum's Jain collection is exceptionally rich and varied. It spans a long period from the 7th or 8th century AD all the way up to this 19th century. This chronological range alone makes this collection very significant, as it allows us to trace the evolution of Jain artistic expression across more than 1,000 years. As far as our collaboration with Lahore Museum and a shared journey and a way forward is concerned, as director of the Lahore Museum, I want to emphasize that we see ourselves not only as custodians of the objects, but as facilitators of knowledge. A museum is not a static repository, it is a living institution that thrives on engagement, research, and collaboration. The partnership we celebrate today between Lahore Museum and LUMS is a model of what is possible when institutions work together. I hope that this will be the first of many such initiatives, projects that bring forgotten artifacts to light, projects that connect students with collections, and projects that our cultural memory remains vibrant and accessible. Before closing, I would also highlight the Lahore Museum's conservation project as well. I'm happy to know, rather I stand educated, that even the Italian experts, they came back to the LUMS and the people who are experts in this field in Pakistan. As far as Lahore Museum is concerned, this has been working as a museum since 1894, and it is a purpose-built building. Since then, I think that not much of the money has been spent as far as its preservation and conservation is concerned. So this is the government of Punjab which has taken this huge step, wherein we are going to have 2 projects for conservation. One is about conservation, where the conservation will be done in the Lahore Museum, encompassing all the aspects of Lahore Museum, including its walls, its roofs, its galleries, its display, each and everything. That is a project which is like 4.3 billion rupees, and it can go up as well because that has yet to execute and go. As far as Lahore Museum's extension is concerned, because we hold like more than 63,000 artifacts and not each and every artifact is on display, we have almost like 14% of total artifacts on display, and we would love that all these artifacts which are in our reserve should come ahead and people should have look on those, and the students should engage themselves as research is concerned. So Lahore Museum is going to have an extended building close to Lahore Museum, just behind the Tillington Market. And for that matter, the government of Punjab has approved 5.6 billion rupees. And the work is going to be start within no time. So we at Lahore Museum are always at a welcome note. We will be welcoming and supporting whenever any project which can help students as far as artifacts and research is concerned, because this is about knowledge sharing and preserving our tangible and intangible heritage. Thank you very much.
I will request our Vice Chancellor, Dr. Ali Chima, to formally hand over a few copies of the catalogue to the Director. Could you please come over?
Thank you, Dr. Nadra. I don't think I have kind of much to say after the mind-blowing, things that you witnessed here. But I wanted to thank Dr. Nadra, our colleagues, Dr. Murtaza, Suleiman, Ali Raza, and the brilliant work done by our team of students, Abdullah, Anas, Hamza, Taimur, and help from Zenat. I just want to kind of say a few things in closing about the importance of what is happening here and to build on something that my colleagues have said. So why is LUMS doing this? Which I think is something which is really essential for the moment that we're in. And all I want to do today is make a plea that we can't take this critical and vital mission forward without your help. So I just want to frame those 3 thoughts and hope that you will become important partners with us in our mission. The important thing to realize is that that these are not just this is not just a preservation of the past. The area we come from and the heritage that we have has been a window to civilizations, whether it is the Jain civilization or whether it is different aspects of the Muslim civilization, and indeed for the modern world, because a lot of what brought the modern world together was built around connections in which our parts of the world were very central. Whether you look at sort of the whole colonial experience, or you look at the experience of the world wars, which have changed and divided and brought together societies, this part of the world was very central, not only in participating in those civilizational shifts and shifts of thought, but indeed in terms of also defining the ideas and ideals and contestations that came out of that. What the generation before me, and now I'm talking about post-partition Pakistan, and my generation have done is that they have worked very hard to erase that history. We have taken almost 50 to 70 years to destroy the heritage that was given to us by thousands and thousands of years of civilization. And in a brief period of 70 years, we destroyed that. Where was this kind of civilization housed? It was not only housed in the offices of the high state, or indeed in terms of governments and public sectors. There was a very deep network of civic institutions that created the civilization and that created this heritage. I'll give you some examples. Recently, over the past year and a half, I discovered this amazing network of these libraries that were set up by either civil societies in the form of civil trusts, particularly in Karachi, but even private enterprises in places like Gujranwala that became repositories of hundreds and thousands of volumes of ideas starting with the late 19th and the early 20th century. All that material and the ideas that were housed in that material are in decay as we stand today. And I think by the time that we get to the next generation, all that will be destroyed. So that legacy will be lost. That is the moment that we're at. The digitization that Murtaza was showing you, one of the pieces, I grew up with that, which is Ut Sharif, because my mother, Yasmin Chima, made it a mission of her life to try and conserve it. And I remember the first exhibition she did at NCA in the late 80s. The fact is we have a lot of digitization that is happening, but that whole heritage in terms of the building and the culture that came with it is going to fall into disrepair, again, within our generation. The Lutfullah archive, which was the sound archive of a citizen of Karachi who spent his free time, his leisure time, just documenting the thoughts of people who were shaping not only Pakistani society, but South Asian society and modern debates in the world around sort of conflicts, was also going to be lost had we not stepped in and had the family not been generous enough to give us those ideas. Those ideas were ideas about how societies can move forward, how do we deal with plurality, how do we shape coexistence. What about ideas of inclusion, of women participating in public and social life? These are all debates that are there as our heritage, but we're letting them slip away. So the deeper mission for us today is to revive the mission to bring that heritage back, not just as a preservation of the past, but in terms of making it central to our thinking in this society as it moves forward. And that can only be done as a civic enterprise that is not just there in some projects here and there, which we will obviously support, but it is a civic enterprise that brings us together as citizens of this area which has come together in this country called Pakistan. And what I think this amazing work that you've seen here by people for whom this is not just a job, but it is a mission, and we're very lucky to have these people here in Pakistan and in the city of Lahore, are making collaborations with people who are there in government, who want to fortify this mission, or in families or in trusts who want to salvage what their ancestors produced so that it could be left to us as a society and it can help us move forward. So I would very much like, this is the first time we brought this all together in terms of a public viewing, that we considered this as a first step towards a partnership. You have our colleagues here, and it would be amazing to get you all involved in any way or form that you wish, because if around this we can build together a bigger civic mission, I think that would be an inheritance worth leaving for our future generations, who are doing some amazing work, as you've seen today. Thank you.
It is past 5:30. A good cup of tea awaits you in the corridors. Thank you very much. My profound thanks to all of you for your patience, for your attention, for being here today with us. Thank you.